Part 1. It was late afternoon when you, a seasoned detective, arrived in a small, remote town nestled among towering mountains. Recently, you had received an unexpected call from your family, informing you that your beloved younger sister, Emma, had gone missing. The last time she was seen, she was on her way to this town for a local fair, famous for its rustic foods. No one knew exactly what had happened, but as you began gathering clues, you realized this wasn't the first disappearance in this area. Many others had mysteriously vanished over the past few months. The town, with its narrow streets and oppressive atmosphere, seemed to be hiding something sinister. The only inn in town was situated next to a famous bun shop. The shop was well known for its delicious buns with a unique meat filling. The owner, a middle-aged man, always greeted customers with a friendly smile, but something in his eyes made you uneasy. That night, as you lay awake in your room, strange noises echoed from the direction of the bun shop. Unable to sleep, you decided to investigate. Stepping outside, you noticed the faint light from the shop's kitchen still glowing. Silently, you moved closer and heard the sound of a knife chopping on wood, accompanied by faint moaning. You returned to your room, determined to continue your investigation the next day. However, you couldn't shake the eerie feeling about what was happening inside that shop. The next morning, you visited the shop to buy some buns, both to observe and search for clues. As the owner handed you a steaming hot bun, you noticed a small smear of blood on the edge of the bun. Your heart raced, but you forced yourself to remain calm. You decided to buy a few more buns to examine them more closely later. As you took your first bite, a chill ran down your spine. The taste of the meat filling was unlike anything you'd ever tasted. It had a strange, unsettling flavor that made your stomach churn. You didn't want to think the worst, but a growing sense of dread began to take hold of your mind. Hey everyone, to avoid missing any parts of the story, please visit LDT Group, The Mysterious Journey on Why, to watch the full version. If you're following this story, don't forget to follow, share, and like LDT Group. The channel is struggling right now, and just one small coffee from you could help keep us going. Your small contributions really make a big difference. The next day, you began talking to the locals to gather more information about the missing people. Some seemed reluctant to talk, while others quickly changed the subject. You began to wonder if the townsfolk knew more than they were letting on. That evening, you returned to the bun shop for a closer look. This time you snuck around to the back of the shop, where you found a door leading to a storage area. Inside, you were met with a horrifying scene, rows of large freezers filled with meat. And among the meat, you spotted a small piece of paper, a list of names. You recognized some of the names, including Emma's, and others who had gone missing. Part 2. Your heart stopped as you saw Emma's name on the list. The truth was becoming clearer, but you still couldn't jump to conclusions. Stepping out of the storage room, you turned your gaze back to the bun shop. The owner stood there, smiling as usual, with nothing outwardly suspicious about him. However, you now knew better than to trust appearances. Returning to your room, you laid out all the clues you had gathered. All the missing people had one thing in common. They had eaten at the bun shop before they vanished. And now, thinking back on the unsettling taste of the bun, you could no longer ignore the horrifying possibility. Your suspicions were growing stronger. You decided to break into the shop that night when the owner wasn't there, hoping to uncover the full truth. Under the cover of darkness, you dressed in black, slipped out of the inn, and quietly made your way to the back of the bun shop. The back door was slightly ajar, and you pushed it open, stepping inside without a sound. Inside, the room was dark except for a dim light in the kitchen. You quietly searched through the shelves, opening cabinets and drawers. Finally, you discovered a hidden hatch under the kitchen floor. It led down into what seemed to be a basement. A sense of dread filled you, but you knew you couldn't turn back now. You opened the hatch and descended into the basement. The basement was cold and smelled of blood. In the faint light, you saw rows of surgical tables and hanging meat. Without having to inspect further, you knew this was where the owner made his special meat filling from the bodies of the missing people. Hey everyone! To avoid missing any parts of the story, please visit LDT Group Mysterious Journey on YT to watch the full version. If you're following this story, don't forget to follow, share, and like LDT Group. The channel is struggling, and just one small coffee from you via PayPal LDT Group will help us keep going. Your small contributions really make a big difference. Your hands trembled, but you couldn't stop now. You had to find solid proof, and more importantly, you had to save the missing people, if any of them were still alive. From the far corner of the basement, you heard faint sounds, weak groaning, as if someone was being held captive. You approached and shone your flashlight toward the source of the sound, revealing a terrifying sight. The missing people were still alive, but they were tied to tables, waiting for their gruesome fate. Among them was Emma, barely breathing. Without thinking, you rushed to her side, cutting the ropes that bound her, all while trying to stay as quiet as possible. You quickly freed several others, but you couldn't stop worrying. Could you escape before the owner discovered you? Just as you were leading the group out of the shop, the hatch suddenly opened and the owner appeared. He smiled, holding a large knife in his hand. "I knew from the beginning that you weren't here just to buy buns," he said, his voice cold and threatening. There was no choice now but to face him directly. A tense chase ensued as you tried to guide the group out of the basement. But the owner was no amateur. He was used to hunting down and subduing his victims. As you and the others reached the outside of the bun shop, the owner lunged at you with the knife. In a split second, you dodged and knocked the knife from his hand. In the end, thanks to your persistence and skill, you managed to subdue him, holding him until the police arrived. The nightmare finally ended. Emma and the others were taken to the hospital for treatment. The case was closed, but the image of those horrifying buns would haunt you forever. Hey everyone! To avoid missing any parts of the story, please visit LDT Group Mysterious Journey on YT to watch the full version. If you're following this story, don't forget to follow, share, and like LDT Group. The channel is struggling right now, and just one small coffee from you could help keep us going. Your small contributions really make a big difference.